A couple of months ago, I treated myself to this, the Anbernic RG353V. Anbernic actually saw that video and they sent over their new RG353V. And I have some thoughts about it, so let's check it out on your boot sequence. So this is the 353V. Currently on AliExpress, it's selling for about $110 to $130. But you have to be a little careful since they actually have two different models, the RG353V and VS, and they differ quite a bit. The one I have here, the V model, well, it's the higher end one. It comes in 4 different colors: white, gray, transparent black, and of course transparent purple, which is the one that I have here. And I mean, look at it. The transparent purple is so nice. This looks like the N64 Atomic controller. It's super nice. The VS version only comes in gray or transparent black. Another difference is that the V model has dual OSs, so you can boot it up on whatever version of Linux that is compatible, or you can boot it on Android. The VS model is exclusively Linux. The VS model, on the other hand, is exclusively Linux. We'll get to why that matters a little bit later. In terms of technical specs, they both share the same CPU, the Cortex A55-based RK3566, clocked at 1.8 GHz. The V has 2 GB of RAM, while the VS has 1, and both come with a 16 GB micro SD card that has the Linux OS on it. The V, though, has 32 GB of internal storage to accommodate the Android operating system. Oh, and lastly, the V has touchscreen support, while the VS does not. So there are some pretty big differences between the two when it comes to the feature set. Now, if I were to compare it to the RG353P, technically they're the same. Same CPU, same memory, same storage, same speed, same screen, same analog sticks, same great buttons, just a different form factor. So let's talk about that build quality. This thing is super sturdy, barely any flex, and it took some pretty big hits while I was trying to make some fancy B-roll. The buttons feel great, and while small, I mean, this is pretty much typical or the standard for portable emulators, but the joysticks feel just as good as the 353P. I gotta say, I wasn't a fan of the form factor when I received it, but it's kind of grown on me. Take the shoulder buttons, for example. Hated this. What the hell is that? Because it reminded me of the Wii Classic controller. But because they're so low, it's super easy to reach L2 and R2 with the tips of the fingers, and L1 and R1 with the, what are these called? Phalanges? I don't know. They're called phalange in French. Plus, all of the other buttons, like the volume, power, and reset, are always at reach. The screen itself is the same as the RG353P, which is bright, vibrant, with a resolution of 640 by 480. They got rid of the giant Anbernic logo that was under it. Thank you very much. This is much more classy. And the mono speaker at the front is actually quite good. You don't have to worry about blocking it with your hand if, for example, it was at the corner here like I see on some of the other emulators. You have a headphone jack, which also supports mic input, and it has an HDMI output in case you want to play on the big screen. Now, I have to say, I've seen a lot of videos online of people having trouble with the HDMI, but I don't know, I plugged it into my TV and I was able to work on both Linux and Android. No problems with that. You have a USB-C input on the top if you want to transfer files and stuff. It's OTG, so it works on Android. And at the bottom, you have a USB-C, but in this case, it's just dedicated for charging. Lastly, in terms of features, this version supports 5 GHz Wi-Fi and Bluetooth 4.2 for controllers, audio, and file transfer. Now, of course, the most important part is performance. But before we talk about that, I just want to thank today's sponsor, AliExpress. They have their annual sale coming up and they wanted me to talk about it using this. This is the G1000. If you're in the market for a budget 60% mechanical keyboard, this one can't really be beat when it comes to features for the money. It's mechanical, it has RGB with a software, that's pretty important. It has hot swappable switches, it's wireless with a dongle or Bluetooth, and it has a Type-C connection. I mean, that's always super important for me, and it can last about a week with the RGB off. The best part, this one's under $40. It's actually $36 to be exact. I mean, why pay more? It's a great base for customizations, so go check out the 11.11 sale from AliExpress. It starts on November 1st all the way to the 12th, and you can see discounts of up to 90%. And AliExpress actually gave me some coupon codes for you guys to use, so here they are. And who knows, maybe the keyboard or the RG353V will be cheaper during that sale. So let's do it. Let's talk about the performance on the handheld. I'm actually pleasantly surprised because while it does share the exact same insides as the 353P, it actually performs better in many of the emulators. And that's probably mostly due to the optimizations done within the software or within RetroArch. For anything basic, so when we're talking about NES, SNES, Game Boy Color, and all of those, it works flawlessly. When we go into Nintendo 64, the old console struggled a little bit, but in this case, I found it to run much smoother. Sure, you get a hiccup here and there, but during the actual gameplay phase, it ran smoothly. I played a lot of Ocarina of Time and I was just starting up Majora's Mask, no hitches, F-Zero, super smooth, and it looks like they did all of the modifications for you to be able to have that smoothness. If you bump up the resolution, you'll see it struggle, but that's normal. I'm just glad that they did all of the optimizations first. Another one that's usually hard to run is of course Dreamcast, but in that case with Crazy Taxi 2, which is kind of my benchmark, it ran right away, no problems, which once again means they did all of the optimizations first. PSP emulation on Linux was horrible, but now it's actually playable. For a lot of those games, one or two settings change will make it a lot smoother, but even out of the box, the experience is still playable. The sound is a little choppy, so I would recommend to mute those games, but as is, PSP is a check. So the Linux side of things is pretty much perfect, except for, of course, things that require touch, because the Nintendo DS emulator here does not work very well. If we go onto the Android side, first of all, the touch works perfectly, but the Nintendo DS emulator there is even better, and so is the PSP one. I mean, I've played GTA Vice City Stories on this, and I've played also, what was it, Castlevania X? Both ran super great. Even Tekken 6 ran great with little to no hitches. There is a Wii and GameCube emulator in this thing, but it's hit or miss. A game like Crash Bandicoot Nitro Kart works great, but you load up Super Mario Sunshine and, it's not meant for it. On the Android side, you can also game stream using Moonlight. As long as you have an NVIDIA GPU, Moonlight allows you to stream to that device, which is pretty cool. I intend on testing out things like xCloud and other streaming services, since Stadia is dead now, but that will be in another video. Another important thing is, of course, the battery life. Now, personally, I get about 7 hours of battery life, but I do keep the screen pretty dim because I play at night at home. I also turn off Bluetooth. But at max brightness, you could get easily about 6 hours. So yeah, in my opinion, overall, it is a solid portable console, as long as you know what you're getting. I mean, in my opinion, it's worth every penny. But hey, if you wait a little bit, maybe during the sale, the 11.11 sale from AliExpress, the sponsor of today's video, maybe you'll find it for cheaper. Anyways, guys, that is pretty much it for today's video. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Drop a like if you liked it, a comment if you want me to test something out on this. As usual, you can click right here to see the latest video right here, to subscribe to the channel. Stay frosty, my dudes, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.